What's up, everybody? I am Dre the Dragon. Don't mind the hair. I just got off work not that long ago, so yeah, don't mind me. Anywho, as you guys know, I am writing a story, an isekai style story, and I'm trying to update you guys on my progress. Now, I got real happy and started actually writing, and I wrote basically 14 chapters of this story. They're about 1,000 words, some a little less, and each chapter is about a page long, and I did 14 of them in the last couple of weeks. And I was really getting into the story, really trying to get everything that I was thinking on paper. And one of my biggest things is that I try to think when writing how the people who are going to be viewing my product is going to see it, because I'm a very visual person. I don't like reading books. It's not that I can't read books, but I just don't like it because I like the visual aesthetics of like Game of Thrones or Naruto or One Piece. I like seeing the visual. Now I know that there are things in like manga and books that are not on the screen, and I get that. But how I think how the people are gonna see the story, and I tend to write in scenes, and I have to picture everything that I'm writing to be able to get it down on paper. And like I said, I did 14 of these chapters, and one of the things that I kept noticing is like you you have to like ask yourself questions on why this is happening. What's the reason for it? Who does this benefit? Why is this necessary? And you have to like, especially with isekai, they don't think logistically. And I've been doing like a lot of like looking up stuff for like just like if something's in a forest, what lives in a forest? What is considered a forest? Like what kind of animals will be there? It doesn't make sense. Just because it's a fantasy theme story does not mean that things don't need to make sense, because everything does need to make sense and have some kind of cost. So I'm not gonna put a dragon in a forest because logistically that doesn't make sense. You know, your magic system has to make sense. There has to be a cost. And that's the one thing about most isekais that I don't like. There's not a real cost. The character's too overpowered for the cost to matter. So I got to writing, and I'm like, all right, so I got these bandits in the forest. Why are these bandits in the forest? Who's after these bandits? Why are they after these bandits? How come the bandits don't live in the cities? Like, there's a lot of things that come to mind when making a story. And for things to make sense the way that you want them to make sense, you have to ask yourself these 5 questions: who, what, when, where, and why. Because like when I'm writing, I'll reread the first chapter and then start the second chapter and kind of keep everything in a good flow. And I have a good flow. It's just nothing makes sense logistically. So like I added a merchant to like one of the chapters, And the idea came from, what's that guy's name from Final Fantasy? Owakas or something like that. And I gathered inspiration from him. Well, in order for the merchant to make sense, there has to be a house, or like a noble house that he has to belong to. And that noble house has to control something that ties them to that area as far as like trading. And this noble house has to have like a faction that they're beefing with, because it doesn't make sense to like have one faction and there's no tension between that faction. And storytelling is about a lot of tension, and that tension has to make sense, and it has to be somewhat believable. And that's something that I'm learning in my writing journey. So for those of you that are first time writers like myself, you know, it's okay to think in scenes. It's okay to think action sequences and stuff like that, but everything has to kind of tie together to the actual story. And when you're doing a story, you have to ask these questions: who, what, when, where, and why. Who does this affect? Who benefits from this action? What, throughout the whole grand scheme of the story. So I just want to share and give you guys updates. I am going to redo all 14 chapters that I came up with. I'm keeping everything that I came up with because it does make sense, but I have to make it make sense logistically. I have to kind of tie everything together so that the story flows. So to any new writers out there, I hope this helps somebody out. I'm trying to come up with a way to give visuals instead of you guys seeing me talk all the time. So I am working on that. I am going to try to get a whiteboard soon. I've had like a lot of personal stuff come up in my life that's kind of hindered my cash flow. So I am doing the best that I can. I pray that you guys bear with me. If there's anything that you guys want to know about the story, I do have it on my Google Documents. Send me something and I can send you what I wrote and get you guys' feedback. But yeah, other than that, I appreciate those who support me and keep looking forward to the story. I will try to do an introduction of characters. I know I've talked about a few of them, but I haven't really gone into great detail about the characters, and I would like to do that. So for those of you that support the channel, please hit like and subscribe, because I promise there will be more. Any feedback would be great and beneficial to me and to you, because it'll help me give a better product. Other than that, God bless. I appreciate y'all, love y'all, and have a great day.